Amid the fire and fury of World War II, a time when entire nations were consumed by conflict, and the soldier became a symbol of destruction, one man stood against the tide. He wasn't on the front lines and he didn't carry a weapon. His battlefield was the heart of the Nazi regime itself, and his story is one of the most remarkable acts of quiet courage in modern history. This is the incredible true story of Fritz Kolbe, a German diplomat who risked everything to fight against his own government from the inside. Our story begins in Berlin, the pulsating dark heart of the Third Reich. Fritz Kolbe was a mid-level civil servant, a loyal German working within the Foreign Office. He wasn't a soldier, a spy, or a revolutionary. He was a bureaucrat, a man of papers and protocols. But from his unique vantage point, he saw something that chilled him to the bone. He saw the systematic web of lies, the cold-blooded orders for mass killings, and the suffocating darkness spreading like a cancer across Europe. While many chose to look away, to rationalize, or to simply follow orders, Fritz Kolbe made a choice that would forever define him. He decided he could not be complicit. He began a secret, incredibly dangerous mission. Every day, as he handled sensitive documents, he started to collect them. Not just any documents, but the most damning evidence of the Nazi war machine: troop movements, intelligence reports on Allied positions, details of espionage networks, and even information about the horrific final solution. These were the crown jewels of Nazi intelligence, papers that held the power of life and death for thousands. But Kolbe wasn't collecting them for his superiors. He was collecting them for the enemy. His conscience had become his commander. He knew he had to get this information to the Allies, but how? Every move was a dance with death. Berlin was crawling with the Gestapo. A single slip-up, a misplaced document, a suspicious glance from a colleague would mean immediate arrest, torture, and execution. Not just for him, but for anyone associated with him. His first attempts to contact the British and American embassies were met with suspicion. Who was this German diplomat offering state secrets? Was he a double agent? A plant? They turned him away, fearing a trap. But Kolbe was relentless. His opportunity finally came through his diplomatic duties, which allowed him to travel to neutral Switzerland. In Bern, under the guise of official business, he made contact with the American AS, the precursor to the CIA. He found an agent named Alan Dulles, who would later become the director of the CIA. In clandestine meetings in quiet cafes and on shadowy park benches, Kolbe began passing over his priceless intelligence. He would stuff top-secret documents into his trouser legs, hide microfilm in innocuous packages, and use his diplomatic pouch to smuggle information across the border, right under the noses of the SS. The Americans gave him the code name George Wood. The information he provided was pure gold. He exposed a network of over 100 German spies operating in Allied territories. He revealed crucial details about Japanese military plans in Southeast Asia, which he had accessed through the German embassy in Tokyo. He provided advanced warnings of major German counteroffensives and V-2 rocket attacks. His intelligence was so valuable, so precise, that American intelligence officers were initially skeptical. It seemed too good to be true. But as they verified each piece, they realized they had found the most important German source of the entire war. The Allies offered him anything he wanted: money, a new identity, safe passage for his family, protection in America. Fritz Kolbe refused it all. In his own words, he told his American contacts, "I am not doing this for money. I am doing this for my country because my country has lost its honor." He wasn't motivated by reward or personal gain. He was driven by a profound sense of patriotism, a belief that the true Germany, the Germany of poets, thinkers, and humanists, was being destroyed by a criminal regime. He was fighting to save his nation's soul, even if it meant betraying its government. Over 2 years, Kolbe smuggled more than 2,600 secret documents to the Allies. The impact was immeasurable. His intelligence saved thousands of Allied soldiers' lives, disrupted critical Nazi operations, and helped shorten the deadliest conflict in human history. He was a one-man intelligence agency, operating from the belly of the beast. Every single day was a tightrope walk over an abyss. He lived with the constant, gnawing fear of discovery. Yet, he continued. His courage wasn't the loud, explosive bravery of the battlefield, but the quiet, steady courage of conviction. When the war finally ended and the Nazi regime crumbled into dust, you would expect Fritz Kolbe to be celebrated as a hero, a righteous German who stood up to evil. But the reality was tragically different. After the war, he returned to a shattered Germany, hoping to help rebuild a new democratic nation. Instead, he was met with scorn and hostility. To his former colleagues and many in the public, he wasn't a hero. He was a traitor. They saw him as a man who had sold out his country to the enemy. He was ostracized, unable to find work in the new German government. The very system he had fought to create now shunned him. He eventually moved to the United States, living a quiet, unremarkable life. For decades, his monumental contribution remained a classified secret, buried in the archives of the CIA. He lived in relative obscurity, a forgotten hero, while Germany struggled with its past. The man who had risked everything for his principles was left alone with his conscience, unrecognized by the country he had tried to save from itself. It wasn't until years later, long after the wounds of the war had begun to heal, that his story slowly came to light. Historians and declassified documents finally revealed the truth about George Wood. Germany, now a stable democracy, began to re-evaluate its post-war heroes. In 2004, nearly 30 years after his death, the German Foreign Office finally honored him, naming a hall in their headquarters the Fritz Kolbe Saal. The traitor was at last recognized as a patriot of the highest order. Fritz Kolbe's story forces us to ask a profound question. What is true patriotism? Is it blind loyalty to your government, no matter what? Or is it loyalty to the ideals and principles that your country is supposed to represent? Kolbe chose the latter. He proved that real bravery isn't always found on the battlefield. Sometimes it's found in a quiet office with a man making a moral choice. He didn't carry a gun. He carried the truth. And with that truth, he struck a devastating blow against tyranny and helped change the course of history. He was a silent hero, a man who fought for what was right, even when his country was terribly wrong. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as we did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of hidden heroes from history. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Who are some other unsung heroes you think we should cover? Let us know, and we'll see you in the next video.